On the day that I uploaded my video about how I love films that make me empathize with unique situations and people, my belief in that statement was tested. That day, I saw Gasper Noe's newest nightmare, Climax. Taking place in an abandoned school, a group of European dancers celebrate the beginning of their tour. Tensions boil over and insanity overcome the group after they realize the sangria bowl has been spiked with LSD. From there, the characters experience a violently bad drug trip, filling the final 40 minutes with horrified screams, frenzied dances, and general unspeakable terror that the audience can only imagine. Yet, Noe does his best to get the audience to understand and feel what these characters are going through. Through the use of dizzying camera angles and uncomfortable long takes, Noe puts the audience into the world of these characters. We never see what they are seeing, but we see how they feel about it, and it is not good. Because of the unnatural camera movements, the absence of cuts, and the general insanity of the actions on screen, I was beyond uncomfortable during my time watching Climax. In the beginning, I was waiting in anticipation for the shit to hit the fan as the characters were introduced. Actually, the movie starts with the end credits, immediately disorienting me and putting me in an odd place. The character introductions go on for an uncomfortably long time, then we are shown a fantastically choreographed one-take dance number. It's full of movement and style and a lot of energy, with each dancer getting a moment to shine and express themselves. The camera then continues to follow the individual characters as we are reintroduced to them, getting to know their individual relationships, or more accurately, their individual fights. This is another uncomfortably long sequence where the camera cuts to static shots of two or more people talking in different areas of the dance floor, showing their private conversations and the tensions present within the group. Many cuts happen after a character looks at another across the room, making the audience feel like a fly on the wall, shooting back and forth between gossip and posturing. Two guys are giving an alarming amount of screen time where they talk about how much they want to have sex with the other dancers, getting into more detailed and gross exaggerations as the conversation continues. This scene made me extremely uncomfortable, not just this conversation, but the entire thing. It just went on for so long, and again I was still waiting for things to get as crazy as I had heard they had been. After all this waiting and unnerving structure, I just wanted something to happen. I soon regretted this desire. The descent into madness is swift, but the longevity of it is unbearable. Before the drugs have even taken their full effect, lives are being threatened, people are locked in rooms, and others are just trying to get a grasp on reality, as a chorus of blood-curdling screams mixes with the oppressive dance music vibrating throughout the neon-drenched walls. To say I wasn't happy while watching Climax would be an understatement. It had an instinct deep within me that kept gnawing at me, telling me to leave the theater, that this movie's not for me and the ending cannot be worth the torture. Despite not really liking any of the characters, I still felt awful watching them suffer. The repetitive soundtrack mixed with the constant movement of the actors and the one-take camera meant there was no break, no quiet moment where I could breathe and process. There was only noise, only bodies convulsing. By the end of the film, where many characters were either dead or missing, and the camera was upside down scanning a dance floor flooded in red strobe lights, I found myself zoning out, finding a way to escape this nightmare when the screen itself became a violent and unpleasant image. After the chaos has ended, and the final shot shows the screen fading into white, while the title being the last image projected before the lights come up, I felt exhausted, betrayed, and angry. Walking out the Climax, I hated it, with a passion. I spent the day trying to figure out why my friends loved it, and it seemed they liked it for the reasons I hated it. They loved the unnerving camera work, the way the film created a sense of never-ending dread with nightmarish imagery and scenarios. They also loved the cynical, mean-spirited tone of the entire thing, as the film seems to take a stance that people deep down are just animalistic, horrible, selfish people. After sleeping on it and talking about it some more with my friends, I'm not sure I like Climax any better, but I do want to see it again, and I have to admit that I admire it to a certain extent. Gasper Noe set out to recreate the experience of a bad drug trip, the experience of a nightmare you can't wake up from. Just as those experiences probably are, this film was unpleasant, depressing, and ugly. It ruined my day and the majority of my week. Yet Noe did it so perfectly and with so much confidence. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he got a cast together to match the insane material with equally insane performances and kinetic dances. He made me empathize with these characters to understand what it would be like if I was stuck in a place with people high off their minds, terrified about being high and not knowing what else to do but dance, scream, and turn the music up louder. Despite understanding and admiring the work, I'm still unsure if this is something I could recommend. possibly for those seeking this kind of adrenaline-pumping, shock-inducing experience, but for everyone else, including myself, your mileage will vary. I don't regret seeing Climax, as it made me not only confront my initial belief of the importance of empathy in filmmaking, but also strengthen that belief after thinking on it. For others, they might go through the same emotions I did and never reconsider the film again, wasting an hour and a half on something that would never appeal to them. That perspective is valid and understandable since people just want to have a good time, and there are plenty of films that provide that. This section of people is why I want this review to include not only my experience watching the film, but also my thought process afterwards. I do think this movie is worth watching and discussing if someone feels up for it, but it is not for everyone. Gasper Noe not only made the greatest anti-drug PSA of all time, he also accomplished what I've previously said all great films do. He created empathy. He allowed me to walk in these people's shoes, and while I didn't necessarily want to, it's still an experience I won't soon forget.